Welcome back to another video on the GT500. It's been a little bit since I posted anything on it, and I'm about to explain why that is in a minute. So the last time we saw the GT500, we did our first watt pull in the car. Felt kind of doggy, not super quick or anything, but pretty much no timing in the car, and the car was running super rich. So I went ahead and talked to the tuner, sent him the log over, and he asked me to take a good look over the car. Did I get the engine codes or anything like that? And if you saw previously, I did have an engine code, and what it was for was the EGR being missing. I did not think really twice about it, to be honest, and it just didn't cross my mind. Previous owner had an EGR delete. Obviously, delete's no longer here. EGR is back up. So originally, I had a time lapse of putting this all thing together, and I realized that it was pretty much junk footage, so I got rid of it, and here we are. EGR is on the car. That opened up an interesting can of worms that I'm about to explain why that bolts out and a bunch of other stuff. If you guys remember back to when the car first started, back in the very first start on the car, and I was like, hey, it was idling really high, and I was a little bit concerned looking over stuff, and we initially kind of assumed that it was something with the initial tune just kind of being a little high, something weird, so didn't really think much of it. After the car warmed up, he got the initial log, did a revision, car idled like normal, sounds great as you have heard before. So all things, no problems, everything's good to go. So everything's good to go. Turns out that's not quite the case, but I'm having a difficult time diagnosing it. The car runs great, don't get me wrong. It's just got a weird quirk about it right now. And this could be because of the throttle body, could be because of the cams, could be a lot of factors. This car is not stock by any means, still running stock computer. I'm not like race car status by any means. I'm just saying there's a lot going on for the computer to understand. So let me explain what happened. Let me explain a couple different things first. So the way the car works is it has something called a cam memory. It is, or not cam memory, that's keep alive memory, but it's called keep alive memory. Pretty much the car's learned parameters. So when you turn it on, it's like, hey, I remember this. This is how I need to idle. This is how I need to do whatever. Well, that's essentially what's not causing an issue, but nothing to do with running rich or anything. Separate thing. Pretty sure that was the EGR being missing and having an engine light for that. Kind of a fail-safe-ish deal. But what happens is if I unplug the battery, reflash the car, or do anything to the actual tuner itself has a cam reset function. If I do any of those things while the car is cold, and then I do a cold start, it's gonna idle really high, really funky. The throttle is gonna be super laggy. If I touch it, it just straight 2000 RPM, it like hangs there for a couple seconds, comes back down, all sorts of weird. So something's weird. It took me, since you guys saw this video, I got the EGR on the next day, or saw the last video, so it's like almost 2 weeks now, to figure out that's what it was. Because I kept taking off the EGR, putting the delete kit back on, going back and forth, trying to figure out what the heck was going on. Checking for vacuum leaks, putting a little WD-40 in all the injector holes to make sure nothing was leaking, seeing if it got sucked in. A lot of different stuff. I haven't gotten a smoke tester yet, so that is something I can still do. Could not figure it out. And then put the delete kit back on and started it up. After I had already warmed it up earlier, trying to diagnose something, I was like, screw it, took it off, threw the delete kit back on real quick, started up, idled normal. I was like, okay, it's gotta be the delete kit. So then piecemeal steps, put the EGR on, with the delete kit still there to see if maybe that sensor right here was being funky. Idled fine. I was like, okay. Did everything, as I put it back, good to go. Undid the battery, put the tube back on, but then the car had cooled down, started up, issues again. So what the heck? So it took me a bit to sort out that, well, what I told you earlier, anytime to take the battery off, or anything like that, it's essentially going into a relearn process to learn how to idle properly. And anytime it does that with the battery off, or not with the battery off, anytime it does it from a cold start with no previous learned data, so something happens, tune reloads, battery gets disconnected, or I reset the cam, which is, again, just troubleshooting, not an every time thing, I have the issue. So my fix, which I say fix until I figure out what the root cause is, if it's even a root cause or if it's just the way the car is, basically let it warm up, turn it off, reset the cam, turn it back on, car's great. Cold start's great, drives great, no issues whatsoever until I do something to reset that cam again. So that's kind of what's been taking so long as I've been sorting this out. As you can imagine, this has been a very frustrating thing to sort out because I don't know if it's a vacuum leak, I don't know if it's anything. But during that whole week-long process, it basically made me go through the whole car with a fine-tooth comb, and I found a couple of things interesting. My first thing I noticed, this is a new vacuum tee right here. Found my old one was kind of not sealing properly. I got new fittings and a new tee. The old one was letting a decent bit of air in back here around to the boost gauge, so I thought maybe that was a vacuum leak. So we got our new tee in here. No more vacuum leaks. Everything's tight here. Cash can's good. The only unregulated air that I can think of that gets into this motor is, if you notice, the stock PCV intake right here. So this is an intake. It gets sucked out and in here. So you call this a exhaust port, maybe. Not really, but close enough. So by the factory design, it comes off the tube behind the MAF, so it's not unregulated air, goes into the motor, comes out of the motor, JLT, into the VMP supercharger, no biggie. So this style technically could be a vacuum leak because it's letting in unmetered air through the engine, through the crankcase, into here, into the port. That's very possible that that's what the issue is. I can't really test it. I tried testing it a little bit, but I don't know how accurate my testing was. By trying to plug one up, see if anything did happen. But again, I don't take that with a grain of salt. Not a great way to test that. I'm not confident in that as being a root cause, but something to keep in mind. So the next issue I found, so I've been at the drag strip quite a bit, and every single time there's a cool little function right here where you can pop off. Some people add in a switch, but you can basically jump your intercooler pump. You pull this guy right here, put a little wire that bridges these two little guys, and your intercooler pump comes on. So I thought nothing of it. Intercooler pump did come on, it works. I have had an intercooler go out, or the pump go out, and I replaced it. It sits right in here. What I've never heard come on is my intercooler fan. So I have the AFCO dual fan heat exchanger, and at idle, if I'm just sitting here not moving around, the car really does heat soak pretty quick. And it hit me while I was looking at everything else, like, why have I never heard those fans come on? So I started kind of backtracking. I didn't put that heat exchanger in here, so I started backtracking. The wiring harness comes from up there, runs around, goes to fan, and there's a trigger wire that goes to the pump. Anytime the pump comes on, it triggers the relay, which was located right here, and you can see that the relay is burnt out. So this is actually the harness side. The relay is over on the workbench. Something burnt out right here. So I was doing some digging into it, and there's a couple different reasons. Potentially it's drawing too much current. The relay may not have been rated for the power it was drawing. So I went ahead and ordered a new relay off Summit, so that'll be here pretty soon. Got a 35 amp rated relay. This is a 30 amp fuse in here, no issues there. But yeah, so essentially this orange wire right here is the trigger wire, and that'll trigger it until the red wire to be like, okay, sweet, from here, go ahead and send your power over to the blue side, which is there, and runs out to my fans. So relay is pretty simple. I'll show you the other side right here. And that's this guy. So you can see where it was kind of burnt up a little bit in there, nothing too crazy. So I did contact AFCO, did not hear anything back from them. It's been a couple days now. So I just went ahead and ordered a new relay, and I'm like, whatever, it's not a huge deal. Other than that, super winded, but that's pretty much what's been going on with the car. So far that's everything that's been going on with the car. Sorry for that super long-winded intro, but I felt you guys needed an explanation as to where the heck it's been, what's been going on. And it's not the longest I've gone without making a video on the GT500. It's not too crazy, but that's pretty much that. So on the bright side, aside from that issue, which again, it could be a lot of things, talking with the tuner, we'll see what we figure out. Honestly, I don't personally care if that's just how it is and just gotta do its idle relearn thing. Anytime you disconnect the battery, which really is not that often. Don't need to disconnect that often, don't need to flashing tunes that often. I went like 3 years without touching a tuner and just racing this car and enjoying it as it was. So once tune's dialed in, I don't really see it being a problem. And again, we're still midway through the process. So don't go like, the tuner sucks, blah, blah, blah. It's not what I'm saying. Not saying it's tuner's fault at all. Very probable there's something I did or it's a part on the car that's not acting just right. But other than that, it seems to be good to go. So next little update on the car, went ahead and got a revision from the last log. I don't know if necessarily it was the couple logs or a revision after the EGR is on and everything's acting normal. Again, he didn't know the EGR was gone. That's kind of why it could have been acting up. So on these cars, they don't have knock sensors. I believe they came in either 2010 or 2011 that the GT500 started having knock sensors. Super valuable when you're tuning because you can see knock show up on the sensors and all of a sudden it's like, okay, time to pull out timing. Either fuel doesn't not good enough or a couple different reasons like that. So on these pre-knock sensor cars, what you got to do is change out your spark plugs. So we're gonna go ahead and put in, right now I've had these plugs in for about a year, nothing crazy. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is change out 2 spark plugs. We're gonna do it on the passenger side, and the reason for that, one, easier access conveniently, but the main reason is the fuel rail is up on the opposite side. So the most likely cylinders to have knock are the 2 rear ones. So we're gonna change out spark plugs in the back 2 corners right here. And they're gonna be fresh plugs. We'll do our Wot pull, come back, and make sure there's no auto or no detonation. And the way you check, you'll see carbon deposits that are usually on the cylinder. If there's detonations, it'll set it loose and it'll get stuck to the porcelain on the plug and you'll be able to see it. My old ones are coated in octane booster and other additives, so I won't be able to get a clean reading off of those. So we're gonna change out the plugs. Not gonna do that on camera, so we'll change out the plugs, do our next pull, and wait for the next revision pretty much, and that'll be the end of the video. So let's go ahead and hop to it. Tomorrow's gonna be the first pull we're gonna do in this thing with the next revision in it, and we'll go over the log real quick together, and then see what's what. All right, so these are the plugs. I just wanna see if I can get you guys a good angle so you can see the white and the porcelain, brand new. You can see there's a few little marks on there, nothing crazy. So these are what's gonna be going in, and then we'll check them out tomorrow after the pull. The other thing is, don't worry about the heat exchanger. My logic on this one, if it hasn't been running for like basically the entire time I've owned it, it's not gonna hurt anything now. I can monitor IIT2 temps, and as long as the car is moving, it stays well underneath the danger zone of like 140 plus. Then obviously we have the ice box at the track, so no biggie. But yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and pop these in real quick, and then I will catch you guys in the car tomorrow. Just got done doing our next pull. The car definitely felt better. I tried to glance at the boost gauge while we were running. That's why I had the camera where I did. So I wanted to see exactly what the boost it was making, or what it was doing anyway. On the watt shift, it looks like I freaking blew off the line to the boost gauge, which is really not a huge deal. All I gotta do is put a little zip tie around that or something. It's not a big deal. It doesn't go to anything like the blow off. Well, actually it does go to the bypass valve, but hopefully it's all right. So I threw it back on real quick, seems to be fine. But I'll check it out when I get back to the house, and we'll go over the log real quick, send it to tuner, see how she does. Well, back in the garage, see how she sounds. And I'll show you that line that blew off, but not after we get a little cam action, because she sounds too good to pass it up. There we go. Good for sure. All right. Enough of the racket. I'll show you where that line blew off real quick, and that'll pretty much do this video, I think. Don't really have much else to go over in here until that little piece shows up, which will be probably next video. But the line that blew off, sorry it's dark, is this one right here. So this guy just popped right out. It's actually a little stuck in there now, but I didn't put a zip tie around there or something. And this one goes over to my low vacuum bypass. This one goes to the boost gauge, so I figured it popped off as soon as my boost gauge reading 0. See if I can catch it in the video. Other than that, the car actually felt pretty good. Started at 2,500 to 6 grand. That's what he wanted for the pull. And like I said, she felt good. I was very curious to see what the boost was. If it saw correctly, it looked like it was 16, 17 PSI, which is more than I was expecting. So should be a good thing, might be a bad thing, but pretty sure that's where we want. And I'm gonna send it over to him and see what's going on. All right, so I'm gonna pop the 2 plugs out. Car cooled down a little bit, and I went ahead and went with these 2 plugs just to the location. Can't get that middle one because the bar's in the way, and I'm honestly, it's fine. It's not a huge deal. Those 2 are ideal, but whatever. So I got one there, one here, and looking at these, perfectly clean looking plugs, no specks of detonation. The little mark on there was there before. So no biggie there, a little warm, no issues there. So good to go on the plugs. I did check out the log while I was inside, and this next clip after this is not gonna make sense because I filmed that before. That was the outro, but checked out the log inside real quick, and went to 11.0, 10.9, and then it dropped back into the 10.1 range for AFR, so pretty rich on the second half. Now, the major reason he didn't adjust anything with the fueling. Wanted to get that EGR on, make sure everything was good to go there, which it seems to be, and then do another watt log to make sure everything's good. So this next revision should have some actual adjustments there. Peak timing I saw was 18 degrees, so pretty close to probably where it's going to be on timing. Maybe 19, we'll see what happens. But all in all, the car felt great. Started at 2,500 RPM. It looks like we got to 57,000 RPM, and that's when I let off. I thought I was 6 looking at the tach, but who knows, maybe I was a little bit off, whatever. Other than that, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I missed. I think that's about it. The line blew off at 5,100 RPM looking at the video on playback. So like I said, that line runs to my low vacuum bypass, so that it's possible the bypass opened up, but it needs vacuum to open up really. So it's possible it flooded a little bit in there. Could be why we saw a degree up of timing. Last time was 17, this pull was a little 18, so maybe that's where that timing came from, if it was acting a little funky. I'll definitely let the tuner know if there's anything weird in there. But all I gotta do is get some kind of sealant or something on this vacuum line, and honestly, we should be good. So, pretty happy with how the car performed, and well, that'll cue the outro clip. See you guys in the next one. So, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. We're gonna take care of at least next one on the car. I got some truck stuff to do. Not sure we'll sprinkle that in, but we're gonna go ahead and knock out getting the intercooler fans working. Apparently I've been running without them for years now, so it's not the biggest deal in the world, but I would like them to work so at idle we're not sitting there heat soaking, especially in traffic, drag strip, et cetera, in the lanes. Don't really want that. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.